Hello, I'm here to go over those problem-solving skills and items with you. There wasn't an actual lesson video for this one because we've already gone through all of the operations that we do at decimals. I just wanted to give you a chance to try some actual problem solving, okay? So we're gonna go over those 6 together, and if it feels pretty good, then let's move on to the next unit. Try the unit checkup first. And if it doesn't feel like you've quite got this yet, then check some of the links underneath this video and practice before you take the unit checkup, okay? So here we go. Let's start with Zandria and her carpet. Carpeting costs $9.99 a yard, so $9.99 for this length, roughly, okay? Yeah. Now, Zandria needs 17.4 yards. So how much is that going to cost her? Okay, so this question is asking for some kind of total, right? And we know that this is $9.99. Zandria wants 17.4 times that, right? So this times 17.4 will give us what it's going to cost Zandria to carpet whatever she's carpeting. So I'm going to write that down. $9.99 per yard. She needs 17.4 yards. This is multiplication. So we're going to use the standard algorithm of multiplication. And remember, we'll get to the decimals when we're finished with the multiplication so we can figure out where it is in our answer. So let's start with 4 for times $9.99. We're starting in the ones place, so we don't have to put a 0 here. 9 times 4 is 36. Carry the 3 there because we're only allowed, oops. You didn't see that. 36, carry the 3 up here. Okay. Do the same thing here. 4 times 9, that's also 36, but now we have to add that 3 that we carried. That's 39. Carry the 3 again. And then same thing again. 4 times 9 is 36. Add that 3 that we carried. Okay? And then we'll move on to 7. If this decimal wasn't here, this would be in the tens place, right? So we can't put any answers in the ones place. We'll put a 0 as a placeholder. 7 times 9 is 63, so carry that 6 up there. 7 times 9 is still 63, but this time we have to add that 6, so 69. And same thing. Okay, so there's 7. Now, if there wasn't a decimal here, this one would be in the hundreds place, so we're not going to put anything in the ones or the tens place. Put placeholders for those two place values. 1 times $9.99, that's easy. It's just it's $9.99, right? It's one of those. So we can actually just fill that in. Now we have a nice stacked addition problem. Over here, 6 plus 0 is 6. 9 plus 3 plus 0 is 12. 1, well, let me just say this. 1, 2, 3 9s. 9 times 3 is 27, right? Plus that 1 is 28. 9 plus 9 is 18. Don't forget that one. 21, 22, 23. And then 9 plus 6 is 15, plus that 2 is 17. And then we have to put the decimals in there because Zandria doesn't want to pay $173,826. That's, she can buy a house for that. So let's look at the top. From here, the decimal is moved over 2 spaces, right? From here, this decimal is moved over only once. So a total of 3 spaces to the left for our answer. 1, 2, 3. Cool. And the answer also said, round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Do you know why that is? Why does the hundredth make sense? It's basically because this is money, right? And we don't usually care about thousandths place when we're dealing with money. The only thing this thousandths place is telling us is to round this 3, or round this 2 up to a 3. So Zandria's total price, once we've rounded up, will be $173. and 83 cents. good. All right, so that's A, and that was multiplication. Now, let's look at this one. It says, if your monthly salary is $1,015, how much do you have left each month after you pay for the following? And then it gives us a list of expenses. You have to pay $443.50 for your rent. Your cable is $23.99. Electricity is $45.62. And you need to eat. So you spend $124.87 in groceries. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and write down salary because that's what I'm gonna use to pay those bills, right? And I don't wanna forget that. So I'll write $1,015 over here. Salary. Now, all of those other things are expenses. It's not gonna add to that, right? It's actually gonna take money away from that. So I'm gonna group all four of those things here, figure out how much they are in total, and then I think it should work to be able to take the total of all of those expenses and subtract from that, okay? So let me list the other ones here. $443.50, that's rent. Cable, and I'm gonna go ahead and set this up as an addition problem, so I'm gonna make sure the decimals are lined up, okay? Cable is $23.99. Decimals lined up. Electricity is $45.62. And the last one is the groceries, $124.87. $124.87. And this is an impressively stacked addition problem. But it shouldn't be too difficult. I'll just make sure I keep track of my calculations. So starting from the top way over here, 0 plus 9 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. And 11 plus 7 is 18. So here's my 8, carry the 1. And then I'll start from up here. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 9 is 15. 15 plus 6 is 21. And 21 plus 8 is 29. I know my decimal is going to be straight down here, so there's the cents, right? Now let's look and see how much our dollars will be. 2 plus 3, 5. 5 plus 3, 8. 8 plus 5, 13. 13 plus 4, 17. Carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. And 11 plus 2 is 13. Carry the 1. Don't have any hundreds place right here. So here's 1 plus 4 is 5, and then 5 plus 1 is 6. So this number represents the total expenses. That's what I have to pay every month so that I can live in my house and watch TV and keep my lights and my AC on and eat. That's what I have to pay. So I want to subtract that from my monthly income, my salary, okay? So I'm going to take this number over here and drag it over here to make sure that decimals line up. Now this one doesn't have a decimal yet. It does in the original problem though, so let's just copy how it says that. It says $115 or $1,000 or $1,015 and no cents. Then we'll drag this underneath it so that that decimal lines up. Okay, 637.98. And when I subtract that from my salary, I'll be able to know what's left over. Okay. Okay. I can't take 8 out of 0, and I can't borrow from 0 necessarily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 out of this 50 by turning it into a 49. Now I can steal that 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 9 is 0. Decimal. Can't take 7 from 4, but I can take it away from here. 14 minus 7 is 7. And again, I can't take 3 from 0, and I can't take anything from this 0, so I'm going to have to take away a number from here and give it to that. okay? 10 minus 3 is 7. 9 minus 6 is 3. So it makes sense to me that if I had $1,015 and I took away just over $600, that I should have close to $400 left, okay? And in fact, you'll have $377.02 left over, okay? You want to know what made me start hating math? I won't go into a long story, but in 3rd grade, we had to learn how to do this kind of subtraction, and it was the worst. Ugh. It was the worst thing ever in my whole life. I'm glad I finally got comfortable with it by doing more and more practice, because I could have been in one of those people who stayed in 3rd grade for 10 years. All right, next one, C. Clay studied a total of 24.4 hours over a period of 4 days. So on average, how many hours did he study each day? I like this one because it's pretty easy to figure out which operation we're going to use, but it also brings up a word that we're going to use more and more as we go through this course, and that's average, okay? An average is basically when you take a total number of something spread out over something else, like hours over days, and then you divide to find out what the average is per day, okay? So we know that we're going to take the 24.4 hours that Clay studied for the whole week, or over 4 days, and then we're going to divide by that 4 days to figure out how many hours did he study per 1 day. Sounds like it's going to be a lot. Poor Clay. Okay, 4 can't go into 2, but it can go into 24 6 times, right? 6 times 4 is 24. That leaves me with nothing here, so I'll bring down the 4 here, and 4 goes into itself 1 time, which gives me a nice closure. Did Clay study 61 hours a day? No, there's not 61 hours in a day. So don't forget that that decimal has to come straight up. And this will tell us that Clay needs to take a break. 6.1 hours per day. Okay, next one. Yeah, I filled my 16.5 gallon gas tank. I filled it up and I paid $34.55 for that. So what's the price per gallon? Okay. This is actually a rate. If you look at this, when we were talking about rates and unit rates, basically we have right now $34.55. That's money. And then the rate was 16.5 gallons. Rate, okay? How do we find a unit rate? Do you remember the shortcut? Because we could go ahead and set this equal to 1 gallon and then do cross multiplication, or we could just realize that no matter what we do with this, we're basically just multiplying. I'm sorry, dividing, right? So top divided by bottom. So if I rewrite that fraction, which just means division, or this ratio, as a division problem in a bracket, that'll work for me. Let's see how we do. Don't ignore decimals yet, but remember when you're doing the algorithm, don't let the decimals mess with you too much. But we have a decimal here in our divisor, and that doesn't suit us well. We'll end up getting the wrong answer. So we want to make sure that this becomes a whole number before we start, and we do that by moving the decimal 1 time to the right, because that'll give us a whole number of 165. And basically what we're doing is multiplying by 10. So this goes here 1 time. Don't forget that if you change one part of a ratio, you have to change the other part. So this goes to the right 1 time, and then we just rewrite it. That's a 34. 34, but now it's 345.5. And now we have a whole number here that we can work with. 165 doesn't go into 3, doesn't go into 34, but it does go into 345. And I think it goes twice. Let's see. I could be wrong, but let's try. 2 times 5 is 10. Bring 1 over here. 2 times 6 is 12, plus that 1 is 13. And carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 1, add that 3, and it looks like I made a good prediction. 5 minus 0 is 5, 4 minus 3 is 1, 15 is smaller than 167, so let's keep going. Bring down that 5, okay? 165 does not go into 155, so I can put a 0 right here and add another 0. Bring down this 0. By the way, my decimal is going to go there. I'm going to go ahead and put that there so I don't forget to. And I'm going to figure out now how many times does 165 go into 1,550. Okay? I'm going to guess 9. That's pretty risky, but I think I'm going to gamble on it. No, I'm not. I'm going to go with 8. And the reason I'm going to go with 8 is because there's an off chance that this could be a nice even number, and 8 times 5 gives me 0, 40. So let's try that. 8 times 6 is 48. Plus 2, I'm sorry, plus 4 is 52. And 8 times 1 is 8, plus that 5 is 13. I think 9 would have pushed me too high, but let's see. Does it say to round this? No, it doesn't say. But I'm going to, because it says we want to know how much it is per gallon. So we're going to round it to this number right here, to the nearest cent. Let's see how this comes out. 0, that's 3, this is 2. Oh, 230 is too big. I should have gone with 9. That's okay. Notice how I know not to keep going. This number came out too big. So let's go ahead and do 209. Let's put a 9 right there. Okay. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54, plus the 4 is 58. And 9 times 1 is 9, plus 5 is 14. And that looks like it's going to come out a lot better. So if I subtract these guys, 65 comes out, excuse me. And I'm going to go one more just so I can see if I need to round this up to 10 cents. Okay? So I'm allowed to keep putting zeros, remember that? I'm allowed to just keep going and going and going if I want to. I can keep this top number going and going and going until either I stop, until the subtraction either comes out even, or until I start seeing repeating. Okay? But I think I'm only going to go one more time because I just want to see if I need to round that up. Okay, so here's my 0 brought down. It's now 650. How many times does 165 go into 650? 4? Or should we gamble and say 5? Let's say 5. It matters because if it's 5, we round up. If it's 4, we don't. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 6 is 30, plus that 2. Carry the 3. And 5 plus 1, or 5 times 1 plus 3? Well, that's way too high. Can't be 5. Let's try 4. And actually, we could try 4. But in the interest of saving time, I want you to just recognize something. 5 was too big, right? So since I have to pick a number lower than 5, that means nothing's going to happen to this 9 right here. It's not going to get rounded up to 210. So $2.09 is my price per gallon. Nice little math tricks to make you think about. Okay? If you know that this number is going to be too low to affect this, then you're done. You've answered the question. Now, if I said, extend this division problem out 13 decimal places, then you'd have to keep going. Honestly, I don't think I'd ever be that mean to you. That's what calculators are for. All right. So Clay spent $2.09 per gallon. Or no, I did. Clay was doing studying. He's still in his bedroom studying. I filled my tank. Now Lorenzo had $85.75 to spend. All right, so again, I'm gonna put that number over here because this is money he has. And then I wanna read about what happens. He bought a music download for $12.75, a gift for $13.98, and some gasoline for $18.23. How much money does he have left? So this is kind of like B, where you have some money, but you need to spend some too. So here's what Lorenzo has. Let's list what he spends. So he bought music for $12.75. And then he bought a gift, a nice guy, for $13.98. And then he had to go put gas in his car for $18.23. We're gonna add these expenses because all of these together is money Lorenzo is spending, right? And whatever this answer is for these, we're gonna have to subtract from this number to see how much Lorenzo has left. So let's try this first. Add them all up. 5 plus 8 is 13, plus 3 is 16. Carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 9 is 17, plus 2 is 19. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 8 is 14. Carry 1. And then 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. $44.96 is what he spent total. So let's carry this number up to here. And now let's see what Lorenzo has left, okay? 6 can't come out of 5, so let's borrow one. Give it to that. 15 minus 6 makes sense, and that's 9. 9 can't come out of 6, so let's borrow again. 16 minus 9 is 7. 4 minus 4 is 0, and 8 minus 4 is 4. So after getting his tunes ready and being generous and then putting gas in his car, he has $40.79 left. Not bad. Okay, are we on the last one? Indeed. All right, so that last one, letter F, says you start a trip when your odometer reads 23,672 miles. An odometer, if you're not quite familiar with that, is a little, it's not the speedometer, it's not the one that shows you how fast you're going. It's actually in that same gauge, usually, but not always, that shows you how far you've driven total since the car was made, okay? So it shows the total miles that your car has gone over its entire lifetime. This one says it's gone 23,672 miles. And I'm gonna remind myself that that's the odometer, okay? So, right now you have a full tank of gas. After driving a few hours, you fill up your tank. If you buy 16.5 gallons, and your odometer has a new reading, which we'll get to in a second, how many miles to the gallon are you getting? Rounding to the nearest tenth of a gallon. Okay, so this takes a little bit of thinking. We have a couple things we need to do. We had a full tank and just started driving, okay? So this is gonna be able to ultimately tell us how many miles we can get per gallon. The first thing we can do though, is look at our odometer. This is where we started, and then we drove, and then we read the odometer again, and the new reading was 23,927. See how there's an increase here? So the car is tracking how many miles we're going. What I want to do with that is figure out how many miles was this trip? How do we do that? If we had a starting point and an ending point, how do we find out how far we went? And basically what we're asking is, what's the difference between those two? And when you ask what is the difference between those two, you're asking, oh, what happens when I subtract these two? So this one's smaller than that one, so I'm gonna carry this one over here. So 23,672. Okay? And this will tell me how many miles the trip was. 7 minus 2 is 5. 7 can't come out of 2, so we'll borrow one. 12 minus 7 is also 5. And then 8 minus 6 is 2. So this trip on one tank of gas is 255 miles. Now the question is, how many miles do we get to go on 1 gallon? And we know that the tank is 16.5 gallons total, right? So we're trying to figure out, kind of like we did with my gas tank, we were trying to find out what's the price per gas, or per gallon of gas on mine, but with you, we're trying to figure out how many miles can we go on 1 gallon of gas, okay? So we're still looking for an average. We're still looking for a unit rate, okay? Because right now, we can say, hey, look, we go 255 miles on 16 and a half? Yeah, on 16.5 gallons. What's the unit rate is what we're really asking, okay? And to find a unit rate, we're dividing numerator by denominator. So let's set that up. And when we do this division, it should tell us how many miles we can go in just one of these gallons, okay? Decimal's in the way, so let's move it over one space. Decimal's over here right now, right? So we'll move it over one space. Oops. So that gives me 2,550 underneath the bracket. Now I have 2 whole numbers. This is the most important whole number. Now I'm ready to divide. 165 will go into 255, right? I think only one time. That leaves 90 as a difference for this right here. 90 is smaller than 165, so let's keep going. Drag down this 0. 165 into 900. I'm gonna go with 8. Let's see if 8 is too big. 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4. 48 plus 4 is 52. 8 plus 5 is 13. That's way too big. I don't even think I'm gonna go down to 7. I think I'm gonna go to 6 this time, because 8 was way too big. Let's try 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 6 is 36, plus that 3 is 39. 6 plus 3 is 9. Still too big. These ones are always fun. Trial and error is nothing bad. There's nothing wrong with it. It just kind of slows you down a little bit. And I'll show you what to do after you've been slowed down a little bit. It's a good strategy. 5 times 5 now is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 2. 5 plus 3 is 8. And it looks like we're gonna have a happier finish right here. I can't take 5 from 0, and I can't borrow from this 0. So let's change this into an 89 and give a 10 to that one. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 2 is 7. And 75 is definitely smaller than 165. And what am I supposed to do to the nearest tenth? So I have to keep going. I've got 15 right now. I'm supposed to go past the decimal. And here's the decimal, right? Okay. So let's add another 0. 165 into 750. I'm not going to get tricked this time. Let's try 5. No, let's not, because 5 I know is too big. Let's try 4. 0, carry the 2. 4 times 6 is 24, plus the 2 is 26. And 4 plus 2 is 6. That looks good to me. Borrow this. That leaves me with 90 again. Okay. Now here's something cool. If I were to add one more 0, can you see that I'm now repeating? Okay. What did I have to put up here for that 9? I put 5, right? So basically this is just going to keep going 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, on and on and on for infinity. But I only have to round to this number, right? And since the 5 right next to it is 5 or higher, it's telling me to round this up to 5. So I really only care about these numbers. And then the answer, which I'm going to round to the nearest tenth of a gallon, shows me that if I take this number and round it to the nearest tenth, my answer is, I'll write it over here, 15.5 miles per gallon. Okay? It gets a little hairy, I guess, if that's a word that we even still use anymore. It gets a little hairy here. And the one thing that this did for me, or against me, is that it slowed me down, okay? You notice that I was on a roll here. I had this and I had that. Oh, that was for the previous one, isn't it? Oh no, I had this and I had this and I was like, boom, 255 miles. Cool. So I put that in over a rate and I know I'm gonna find the unit rate. And then I put those here, that unit rate here, and started doing the division, and that took a while. Now here's the danger of that. It's not really a danger, but it's a risk. You risk going through all of this and then finally saying, what was I doing again? Okay, so every once in a while, if this is taking a while, you might want to take a stopping point, like, okay, this is 75. Now let me pause for a minute. What is it that I'm looking for again? Oh yeah, I'm looking for a unit rate for this. And then look at my answers so far and say, does this help me? Oh, I need to go one more step, okay? Don't just keep going and going and going and then getting to some place where you're like, wait, what was I doing again? And it's easy, it's kind of easy to get lost. This is why I strongly suggest that you take frequent breaks. And I don't mean get up and go for a run. I mean, stop someplace, find a stopping point, back up, look at the whole picture again, and make sure you know where your end point is. Okay? Read the question again. If you get down to here and you're at 75 and you're like, okay, what was I doing again? Read the question again. That way you'll be like, oh, that's what I was doing. Nearest tenth. Okay, so I have one more step. All right. Just a little bit of a suggestion from me. If you feel good and setting this stuff up was pretty natural and you're like, oh yeah, I can read this stuff and figure it out. Cool, go ahead and try the unit checkup after this for decimals. If you know you need a little more practice before you actually try an assessment, try the links underneath and do as many as you can. If you know you really need to focus on division, focus on division. If you know subtraction is messing with you a little bit, do some of those. If you kind of just want to get a nice, well-rounded review, then try all 4 operations. All right, good luck on the unit assessment. I will see you in the next unit.